This is a video to help you with the lecture on the cell. So recall the cell theory. All living things are composed of cells. The cell is the fundamental unit of life. And again, all cells come from pre-existing cells, so all cells are related by descent from earlier cells. There are many single-celled organisms and multi-celled organisms. The size of a cell varies from small, such as the bacteria, which range from 1 to 5 micrometers in diameter, to eukaryotic cells of plants and animals, which range from 10 to 100 micrometers in diameter. So we need microscopes to study cells, and there are different kinds which allow for different levels of magnification, each with pros and cons. The light microscope is great because it allows us to look at living organisms, but it's limited in its magnification. Electron microscopes allow for much greater magnification. We can see cell structure and organelles inside cells. However, these cells must be preserved in a way that doesn't allow them to live. So that's just important to keep in mind. Again, a scanning electron microscope is great for cell surfaces, and a transmission electron microscope is great to look at the details of structures inside the cell. All cells have a plasma membrane that functions as a selective barrier, and we have to keep in mind that metabolic requirements impose an upper limit on cell size because as a cell increases in size, the area grows proportionally less than its volume. Therefore, we have this surface area to volume ratio that we must keep in mind. The smaller something is, the greater its surface area. More complex eukaryotic cells need, obviously, greater metabolic requirements. And they get around this problem by having membrane-bound organelles inside the cell. That increases their surface area without increasing their size. There are two types of cells. I've already mentioned eukaryotes and then prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are bacteria, but they also include archaea. These are single-celled organisms, and they lack organelles. Prokaryotes do have chromosomes. They have ribosomes and the cytoplasm. For motility, they have flagella and or fimbriae, and many bacteria or prokaryotes have a cell wall made of peptidoglycan. Eukaryotes also have a plasma membrane, but they're more complex. And of course, as I said earlier, they have organelles. These membrane-bound structures separate complex reactions which can occur simultaneously in the cell. The eukaryotes also have flagella for motility sometimes, but it's a different type of a structure. And again, plant cells have a cell wall, but it's also a different type of structure than prokaryotes. Now, it's important that you can identify and describe the function of each and every organelle, and that you can also differentiate between plant cells and animal cells. The cytoskeleton of eukaryotes is important because it organizes and gives structural support to the cell. There are three important components of the cytoskeleton: the microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. Their structures differ because they have different functions in the cytoskeleton. Pay attention to those differences. You know, plants have cell walls made of cellulose. This important structure helps to protect the plant cell, maintain its shape, and limit the amount of water coming into the cell. Be sure to note the structure of the cell wall. It's composed of a secondary cell wall, a primary cell wall, and a middle lamella. Animal cells lack a cell wall, but they have the extracellular matrix that provides support and is important for transport and cellular communication. The components of the extracellular matrix are glycoproteins and proteoglycans, which is just another type of a glycoprotein. These are embedded in the plasma membrane and attached to integrins, transmembrane proteins. Multicellular organisms have cells that are adjacent to one another, and they often adhere, interact, and communicate directly. Plant cells have cell walls that are perforated with what's known as the plasmodesmata. This can then join the adjacent cells. Animal cells have three types of junctions: the tight junction, desmosomes, and gap junctions. So from this little overview video, you can see that cells are really cool, and eukaryotic cells are complex structures with a lot of stuff going on inside and a lot of different, again, structural organelles that help these functions happen simultaneously and allow for the complexity of life. Have a good day.